When was the last time you went to a job interview? They're stressful, aren't they? Yet some people just seem naturals at them. My daughter-in-law, Laura, has been offered every job she'd ever been interviewed for. That's impressive. So why is it that some people can hit job interviews out of the park like that? So this week, I put the question to you, and we have created our top 10 tips for job interviews. Our first two tips come from Deb Beckers from Toronto, Ontario. Now, Deb is well positioned to answer this question as she just recently started a job at a new company in a different industry than the one she worked for almost 18 years. So I'm sure she was nervous too, but clearly she nailed it. So Deborah's first tip is to prepare and memorize your PAR stories. P is problem, A is action, R is result. Problem, action, result. And bring every question around to your problem-solving magic. Make it personal. Tell them a story. Give them an example. Make them root for you. That's a great tip and an excellent way to prepare for your interviews as well. The second thing that Deb says that helped her tremendously was to force herself to take a pause and a breath before answering any questions. It helps calm your nerves. It gives you time to formulate your answer, and it lets the interviewers know that you take the question seriously. So when we're nervous, time passage is not realistic. By taking just a 2 or 3 second pause, it can make all the difference to you and how you sound. Now, I know that it feels like that 2 or 3 second pause is a 2 or 3 minute break in the conversation, but it isn't. Don't let your nerves rush you and force yourself to insert that pause before you respond. This clearly worked for Deborah, so take her advice there. Number 3 comes from Preeti B, also from Toronto, Ontario. Now, Preeti shares that her tip is to always research the organization you're interviewing with. Now, this helps you understand their values. So that way we know if our values don't align, and we can word our questions during the interview accordingly if they do. So this is more than finding out about what the company is and what they do. It is about digging deep into the company to find out who they are and what they value. So if they're heavily into supporting the community or local sports, you would want to know that. And you could add that information into your interview, like, my son plays for the hockey team you sponsor. Suppose they have been trying to develop a local park or add condos or a parking lot to that local park, and you have been adamantly opposed to that urban sprawl. In that case, you'd really be best to reconsider working for a company is pushing something that you disagree with, right? Deborah Ackles-Boulis from Canada, Ontario, which is just down the road from me, shares an unbelievably important tip. Be nice to the receptionist or the admin or the concierge when you arrive. I have read that there are many organizations that ask the receptionist how the candidate was when they arrived, and it is part of the interview, only you're not aware of it. Be friendly, be polite, be professional. If you were to disrespect my front person, I can guarantee you would not be hired by my company, regardless of how your interview was. Number 5 this week is also from the Ottawa area, and Kalinda DeBow. Kalinda reminds us to keep the answers focused on the questions. Now, sometimes candidates tend to ramble on and give you all kinds of details about performance, but they don't actually answer the actual question. So ask the interview to repeat the question to make sure that you fully understand it. Add in the pause that Deb recommended above, and stay focused. Now, a bonus tip from Kalinda is to not be afraid to ask the interviewer if they would like you to elaborate or even answer more on the question that they've asked. They may want clarification, and it shows that you have good communication skills by saying, can I expand on that answer? Or can I explain anything further? Do you want more information? Any of that shows good communication style as well. Now, I love when the person that I'm interviewing asks me questions. And our 6th tip comes from Ann Dalkey from Wausau, Wisconsin. Now, Ann is all about asking questions, and she has some great recommendations. One of Ann's favorite is to ask, what is the 1 or 3 top things that you dislike or frustrate you about working here? And what would you change if you could? That's a great question. Another good one is thinking back to the people that you've seen work in this position. What differentiated the ones that were good from the ones who were really great at it? You're not asking who was bad. What's the difference between good and really great? Or what does a typical day look like for someone who's in this position? Not only are they great questions, they help you understand a little bit about the person interviewing you, which is often the person you'll be working for. Which leads us directly into the seventh tip from Michelle Morford from Marysville, Washington. Michelle reminds us that while they are interviewing you, you are also interviewing them. Ask yourself questions too. Not only is this the company that you want to work for, as we just talked about earlier, but is this the person or the people you want to work with? Do you feel that connection? Does it feel like a good fit? Do you see any red flags already? Interviews are two ways, so be sure to find out if this is a good fit for you. We've all heard horror stories of people who actually didn't interview the company, took the job, and then quickly started to look for a new job because it wasn't a good fit. Number 8 comes from Kim Picard from Embrun, Ontario. Kim reminds us to be honest. Now, I know that that sounds really basic, but many people answer questions the way they think they should be answered instead of being totally honest. So, for instance, when you're asked the standard question, what are your weaknesses? Give them the honest answer. Don't give them the answer you think they want to hear. What people often will say is, oh, I have a hard time saying no. Well, these kind of answers don't make you stand out because everyone says that. So be honest about what your weaknesses are. So you could say something and expand on it. I multitask all the time, even though I know that it isn't always the smartest thing to do. So what I've been using is the Pomodoro technique to keep me focused. So don't make up answers just so that you can give them what you think they want to hear. Be honest, but also compensate and explain what you're doing, the PAR response that Deb talked about earlier. Now, if you're not honest, you may find yourself in a job that is not a good fit. And as Kim says, be honest and be yourself. No one is better at being you than you. Number 9 comes from Tanya McDonald from London, England. Tanya recommends that if you can find out who you're interviewing with in advance, that's a good thing to know. So when HR calls and schedules the interview, you can proactively ask, who will be attending this interview today? If you're smart, check them out on LinkedIn. Find out who they are in the organization so that you can be prepared. Most people do not ask that question, so it really makes you stand out before you even get in the door. And number 10 is from me. Now, my advice might be a little strange, but I think it works well. Ask for the interview to be in the morning. Now, this is for 2 reasons. The first reason is then it isn't hanging over you all day long, making you nervous about the interview. The second reason is that if you do a really great interview in the morning, every candidate from that point gets compared to you. So that works in your favor. The same is kind of true if you've ever been house hunting. If you see the best house in the morning, every house just doesn't, oh, it didn't have this, oh, it didn't have this, oh, this wasn't as nice. So you want to be that same person that stands up to all the competition for the rest of the day. So that's 2 reasons to have your interview in the morning. I hope that if you have any upcoming interviews, whether they're internal or external, that you can take these tips, put them into action, and knock your interview out of the park. Good luck.